That's good. We are all set to start our session today. And the session today is a very, very important technology, which is going to help you in your DevOps journey. So in the previous session, what we had is a discussion on why we are gathered over here to learn about or to understand in the internship program to get an awareness of why we are learning DevOps, right? And there we understood that there are basically 7 to 8 tools, very, very important tools. It is not necessary that you need to learn all the 20 tools, but yes, if you can somehow manage to learn 20 of the tools, then you are a champion. But we do not need champions. We need a good job to do in the market. So we have selected 7 tools, 6 or 7 tools, which are going to help you for the DevOps. But to be able to be working on these tools, on this, sorry, there is some issue with my network. Forgive me if you, can you see the screen? Just let me know, because suddenly there was a spike.
Yeah,
Are you
now we
the,
can. Yeah, we can see your screen.
okay. So as I was saying that we will be learning the cloud basically on AWS because without the knowledge of AWS cloud and without the knowledge of Linux in particular, as Mr. Karthik was saying, that whatever, whether it's Kali Linux or Ubuntu Linux, it is Linux. You have to be very well aware of these two things. Okay. Today, my subject is to give you an awareness on the cloud, why we are gathered over here. So let me start. If you have any sort of a question, please do not hesitate to ask. Unmute yourself, ask the question, and because I would not be able to see your chat. Okay. So try to avoid, you can directly ask me questions. No need to hesitate. So this is a very important logo that is going to that you will recognize that every step that you are taking in DevOps. Okay, because we are going to work on cloud. Now, what is cloud computing? Who is using cloud computing? These are the fundamentals. I'm sure by this time, even an entrant to IT would be knowing about it. So I will not elaborate on this. We will move forward. So the cloud computing is basically it is an on-demand delivery of IT resources over the internet. And the most important part is the pay-as-you-go pricing. This is the hallmark where and which is helping the customers to migrate over to the cloud from their legacy. Because to maintain a legacy system of big systems in their premises or in the data centers, it is a hugely costly expenditure or investment. You know, there is the capex and the opex. Capex is the capital expenditure, and opex is to maintain that capital expenditure. You have already spent a lot of money over buying the big servers. Okay. And the networking along with it, the storage along with it, so many allied things, ancillary things to support that big computing power, the powerhouse. So, and at the same time, you will spend a lot of money over the electricity bills, isn't it? Because you have to keep those big elephant servers cool. You have to make it cool. You have to cool it down. So there is a huge consumption of electricity. These are the business people will have a note of it. Maybe the IT guys do not worry about it. But after all, the company is spending a lot of money. So the cloud has given a route to migrate from the legacy to the, that means you are migrating your applications, your whatever, your infrastructure over to on the net, on the internet. on internet, but you are not an expert on these sort of things. So you are taking a help of the all these services from where? From the cloud service provider, CSPs. And one of the major cloud service providers is, you know, AWS or Amazon. So Amazon Web Services. So that is one thing very important. Pay as you go. You do not need to. It's like an electricity bill. You do not pay a single cent more than what you have consumed. That is a big saving. That is a huge cost cutting for the companies. So you can understand why and what is cloud computing and why and who is using cloud computing. There are almost every sector of this industry, every segment of this industry, every segment of the users are using cloud computing. And that is not to be elaborated much, it is understood. Let us move on. So we are understanding why we are using cloud. What is the big deal? Why should we? There are four factors. One of the factors is agility. I can keep on talking on and on and on, but I have certain agenda because this is a very short period of time to cover a topic like cloud. So there are lots of out of scope things which I am very excited to talk about, but I cannot because that is possible in our the full time courses, the paid courses, the job ready courses, but not here. So let us understand that agility is the one thing. Agility, by agility, what do you mean? We had discussed about waterfall and the agile. Agile brings the agility to a production or to a project deployment. Okay, I do not need to wait for uh, a big bang sort of deployment. I will do in short burst of releases the deployments. So, and that is possible because our cloud is very agile. The deployment technology to deploy technology services in a matter of minutes. I used to work in IBM, and as a project manager, I have seen the hurdle of a deployment in a production. You have developed a product for at least 5 or 6 months, and I'm sure when you are following something like a legacy system and you are deploying it over to your customer's premises, it it will not be less than at least a week or two to be finally able to deploy your entire big bang sort of approach of deployment. It was not a blue green deployment. It was not a rolling update deployment. The rolling update deployments are very much possible when we are talking about Kubernetes. We are going to have Kubernetes at the very end of our this 8 weekends session. The last two sessions will be on Kubernetes. That will be really interesting. But anyway, we will not digress from our discussion here. Agility is the amount of time that you are going to spend to deploy. Finally, what matters is how you are assembling your product, packaging it, releasing it, and deploying it onto the production. That is the whole thing. The whole game is all about it. And therefore, I will like to do it within minutes, in a matter of minutes, because Amazon deploys one feature or whatever feature every 3 minutes. It was not possible without the help of this sort of technology. So agility is one big factor in the terms of cloud computing. What about elasticity? Can you see this is a nice figure, nice way to describe elasticity. What is happening? What do you mean by elasticity? Okay, that you can expand it to a certain level, and then when you release it, or you can recoil it back. So as you say, I would like to pay as I go. That is possible because of elasticity. That means whenever your application is under huge stress, that means during the Christmas when the sale is on the peak sales. Okay, you need some elasticity properties into your system. Why? Because you need to auto scale up horizontally or vertically scale up. You can configure this over the cloud that you need. There is a very good auto scaling feature in cloud. So you can say that whenever a threshold is reached, a threshold of a request. Let's say my threshold was 10,000 requests per second. Okay, that the system can handle 10,000 requests per second. Now, suddenly during the peak season, it has doubled or tripled or quadrupled. Let's say now it is almost like 50,000 requests per second. Okay, your application is now crying, screaming. It is requesting for resources, additional resources. How are you going to get that resources? And see, I will not make my system down. If you try to make your system down or do anything manually you do some manual intervention, then that is not desirable. That will bring a bad experience to the customer. So what you need to do, you without the notice in the background, in transparently, without the knowledge of the customers, you have to expand your system. Like you can add up CPUs, you can add up storage, you can add up memory, you can so your processing speed or power goes up. So that is called horizontal scaling. Or you may go for sorry, that is called a vertical scaling. And also you can go for a horizontal scaling, that you can add up the standby servers into the processing. So though they were dormant, they were standby. So you now are putting them into the processing mode. So there is a RAID architecture, whatever. There is so many things I'm not discussing. But the elasticity is that it has expanded your resources because of the huge requirement, huge demand of your application. It needs additional resources to be able to cater to that request, that amount of request. And therefore, you have to expand it automatically behind the scenes without a downtime. That is expanded. Now, now think of after Christmas, just after Christmas, there are no upcoming events. Okay, suddenly your demand of your application goes down and down and down and down. Now, if you are not using those resources, you will descale, isn't it? That descaling is also done automatically over the cloud because of your configuration. And for that, because you should remember that you should not keep resources uh, in force if you are not using them. Then because in that case, you might be billed and you will be billed. Okay, so you do not need to be billed for something which you are not using. So what you need to do, you have to automatically descale. So the scaling up and scaling down, that is the elasticity. And that is possible because of the cloud. Is that clear? Do you have any questions? So isn't this picture very nice and appropriate? Another thing that we have already said about the cost savings. I will not go again and again on the same thing. Now, deploy globally in minutes. That is one of the major benefits of using cloud. So now the business model is that your team is not co-located, or your offices are not co-located. Your head office is in New Jersey, but you have your branch offices all over the world. in India, in South Africa, in Nigeria, in Australia, in Japan, so many places. They are very, very far apart. Now, you need to do those, deployments. Say, let's say a Java application that was deployed over into your head office, which is in New Jersey. Now, that application should be made available because that is your software. That is where your workforce is going to work on. So that Java application needs to be deployed all over the world where you have offices. Now, how do you do that? Earlier, 20 years back, a person, a support guy, a support engineer would fly down to India from US to install that software. Okay, and that will incur a lot of cost of the travel, the cost of staying, cost of food. Everything will be borne by the company just for deploying or installing one Java application from US to India. Now you are sitting at one place, not even in your head office. You are sitting somewhere in, say, Honolulu. Okay, there is a nice house, nice rest house, and you are a DevOps engineer. You have been instructed to help deploying an application from New Jersey data center or some server to India, and along with India, all the other places of the globe where you have offices, and you do it within a day, not even a day. You do it within half a day, not even half a day. You do it within 1 hour, not even 1 hour. You do it in minutes. So can you think the how the technology is going to help you? Okay. Any question? This is a very important slide. I can go on this, but I will not. Again, the constraint is there. So I will just say that you are looking yourself, you are an entry guy. So you are learning DevOps, and similarly, so therefore you have to learn cloud. So what are the things that you need to, because cloud is like an ocean. I cannot learn everything because I have a set target that within 3 months I have to get a job. And within these 3 months, 2 months, I have to work with Devashish or Kalki to learn the subject. And the rest, another month, I will practice myself and do the capstone project that was there, that we have learned. And after that, I will start sitting for interviews. So I should be suggesting myself what are the things that is possibly good enough for me to at least get a job. But at the same time, uh, things are smoother, easier for me. It is not like passing an exam. You will only go for the suggested questions and then committing it to the memory and then vomiting it out on the papers. It's not like that. Yes, whatever you learn less. But whatever you learn, you have to have a good foundation of that particular knowledge. So I will suggest that, see, this is the global architecture, AWS global infrastructure. Okay, the entire globe is divided into regions. Regions is divided into availability zone. Like in India, you have 29 states and few union territories. In US, there are 50 states. Why? Can anybody tell me why you divide them into states? And the states will be divided into districts, and districts will be divided into subdivisional towns. Why do you do that? Anyone? Just a general discussion. It should not appear that I am only the speaker. It should not be a one-way traffic. So can anybody help me understanding why you divide your country into several states and then states into districts and all the stuff? Anyone would like to have a try?
Easy to manage, easy to coordinate.
Yes. This is for the better management, better coordination, better governance. See, your prime minister or the your president will be taking the reports from their governors, isn't it? Governors of the states. Why? And the governors will then, in their part, will take all the reports and all the status from their subordinates. Okay, that is the hierarchy of governance. Similarly, here, to better govern the entire globe with the data centers available with AWS, what you do is you divide into regions the entire globe, and within the regions, again, the region should be nicely distributed with data centers, and those data centers are nothing but the availability zones. So for let's say in US there is a region called Ohio. Ohio has 6 availability zones. What does that mean? I'm not being able to show you the actually on the practically how it looks on the console, AWS console, but that's okay. I will have some hands-on today. Okay, that's why I'm hurrying a bit. But can you tell me when I say that they are there are 6 availability zones under the region called Ohio. What does that mean? That means
Six
Ohio.
data,
Yes, yes.
and the
Yeah,
state of Ohio, based on the size and customer proximity, you may have data centers to cater for those
correct.
customers to the length of time.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good. So those are the 6 data centers in computer jargon or in the AWS jargon. It is called availability zones. Fantastic. So I have the data centers and I will locate those data centers according to the proximity of the volume of consumers. So that is how AWS manages all those things. In India, there are data centers. Okay, AWS data centers in Chennai, in Mumbai, in Hyderabad, and few are coming up. So, and see, I am in Kolkata. Okay, Kolkata is in the eastern part of India. To me, a data center in Mumbai is far off. Then, if I can access a data center in Singapore, because Singapore is nearer to Kolkata, though Singapore is not in India, Singapore is a separate country. But then also, I have no restriction. There is no bar because there is edge locations. Okay, so I will have the networking available to access Singapore much faster than accessing Mumbai. That is the beauty of this architecture. Such that there is the latency. I can avoid the latency. If I am creating a server sitting in Kolkata in India and creating a server that is an EC2 instance on the in Ohio, then it is far off. That is not a logically good advice. Or maybe I'm running an application. That application was developed in US, but most 90% of the consumer of that application is based in India. So what do you think? Where will that application be deployed? That application should be deployed nearer proximity to the customers, most of the customers, such that it gives a better user experience or customer experience. Okay, so it should be either located in Mumbai, deployed over Mumbai, or Singapore, or Hyderabad, or Chennai. Okay, so that is how the things go. Anyway, so as I was saying that I am a DevOps engineer. I have just learned DevOps. I am not a developer. I am not a software developer. So out of these 3 application layers or this three layers of services, which services do I need to learn? I will say I will need to learn the foundation services and the management and administration services. I'm not going to the details, but uh, we will have the compute services. These are all services. You are hiring or you are accessing the services of AWS, Amazon Web Services. See, the name, the very name suggests that it is Amazon Web Services. These are certain services available over the cloud. I will go for learning compute services, storage services, database services, networking services initially. So in our course, I will go in elaborate details. But for the time being, I will just say that compute services is nothing but like you see Amazon EC2. What is that EC2? It is called Elastic Cloud Computing. But again, what is that Elastic Cloud Computing? Cloud computing is two C's. So it is EC2. Elastic. Why elastic? Because as I told you, your server, though it is a physical thing, but it is also very elastic. It can expand, it can compress, it can descale, as I told you. So it is elastic, elastic server, elastic cloud computing. So basically, these are servers. I can create these servers using the EC2 services of AWS. What about auto scaling? Auto scaling, I told you, this is also a service that I can employ or use to configure the automatic scaling of my servers. So these are the part of the computing services. What about storage? Amazon is a champion when it comes to providing storage services. One of the most popular services for our developers and for applications is Amazon S3. I can go on and on this, but for this timing, it is simple storage service, S3. Simple storage service. Now, these are the services which are widely used by corporates for their application development teams. Okay, you store your files, objects, whatever, on a day-to-day basis. Okay, and also remember, this S3 service is also version controlled. You can have the entire history of what are the changes, what are the files that you are storing. The same file you are today you have done some work, you stored it. Tomorrow you are going to continue with that work, but tomorrow when you save again, when you commit again, the history of the previous commit is preserved. Anyway, the EBS, Elastic Block Services, that is sort of a optical devices, volumes that you can employ. And there is, for the huge storage, you have the AWS storage gateway. You know, you can transport few petabytes of data within minutes. Petabytes means 1024 gigabytes, 1 petabyte. Can you imagine the amount of data? And there are many companies who are dealing with a huge chunk of data. But say they have to transport their data from one location to the other location. How do they do? Other year, the previously, when the cloud was not there, or when AWS such fantastic services were not there, it used to travel as big tapes. You know, tapes. Have you seen tapes? We are from the old school. We have seen that. And you cannot imagine how big they are. The huge tapes. But they are so big, they hold a little bit of data. And now you can carry 1 petabyte of data in your fingerprint, within your finger. Now see the amount of storage that can happen. And also you do not have to physically do anything. You will do it over the services of the cloud called AWS Storage Gateway. There is the Glacier service. I hope you have heard this very famous term, Glacier services. Okay. Anyway, glacier, a huge chunk of ice coming down. So that is the volume. To make a statement of the volume of data, they have termed it as glacier service. Now there is the database. Whatever, like you are very familiar with Microsoft SQL Server or MySQL database services, and then Oracle, Sybase, Ingress, Informix, so many RDBMSs, Relational Database Management System. But those are quite difficult to handle. You need to be a database administrator, or you have to have a good knowledge of databases to handle those systems. But here, a very less knowledgeable guy like me, I can also handle big databases over the cloud. That is the power. I will do the same thing as a database administrator can do, but without that knowledge of a database administrator. Can you understand? So basically, these are the RDS service, which is a relational database services provided by Amazon. DynamoDB. Do you have any idea of DynamoDB? Like, there's no SQL database. These RDBMSs are SQL databases, SQL, structured query language. Whereas DynamoDB is like the MongoDB. MongoDB is no SQL services, no SQL database. So you are not restricted within a framework of a schema. SQL works on a schema. Here you are not restricted. Anyway, that is DynamoDB. That is no SQL database also available along with RDBMS over the cloud. Elastic Cache. Elastic Cache is a fantastic technology of database, but everything is in the memory. So can you imagine something which you are storing, the data you are storing on a device, that is a storage device? Which one will be faster if you can store the data in a memory and the one that you are storing on a storage device? Which one will be faster? Access. Think of a situation where you are dealing with trillions and trillions of data within seconds. So the speed of processing, speed of accessing of the data is you have heard the big data, Hadoop. Okay. So now Elastic Cache is a memory database, high performance memory database. Now, what is the difference? Which one will be faster? Accessing an RDS, even if they are on the cloud, accessing RDS will be faster, or accessing a data which is stored over Elastic Cache is faster? Anyone? So anything that you do it over the memory is always faster. It is almost 4 times faster than if you are accessing, because the IO, input output, within when you do over the hard disk, over a SSD, or over whatever, it can be optical, it can be mechanical disk, doesn't matter. The access, the IO, the hits will be much more faster in Elastic Cache than over the RDS. And then we come to networking. You have an entire plethora of the networking tools and services. Okay, so we are going to learn each and every aspect of this in our main course. But anyway, I will say that suppose the regions are connected to the data centers. How? It is the VPC is connected to the subnets. Where is the subnet? Each database or each data center will have its own subnet, a default subnet, and a region will have a VPC. VPC is the virtual private cloud. Okay, so treat this as your private cloud. You are the owner of the cloud. Everyone, millions and millions, billions of users working on cloud, each and every one is an individual owner. They are having their own VPCs, virtual private cloud. Anyway, so how is the connection between the VPC and the subnet established? It is because of those networking services provided by AWS. Now, I am not touching upon this one at all because these are entirely meant for the application developers who are working on the cloud. Content distribution, Amazon CloudFront, messaging, which is Amazon SNS. These are very popular messaging queues with the developers, and search, Amazon Cloud Search. It's a very fantastic utility or service that can be employed. Like you have the Google search engine. Here is the search engine provided by Amazon. Distributed computing, like you have the serverless processing with MapReduce, Amazon SWF. Okay. Libraries and SDKs, Java, PHP, Python, Ruby, everything is available over the cloud. But this is an application platform services. We are interested with the management and administration, which is the web interface. Basically, you will always work on the Amazon AWS management console. The console is the interface. I will show you today. And then there is the identity and access management, the identity federation, and consolidated billing. So these are all the services. You can create groups of users. You can create a group, assign the policies to the group, and therefore you can say, let's say the group is HR, human resource department. You create a group, and then so why do you create a group? Because you wanted to restrict the access to the various resources and services over the cloud. HR has nothing to do with the resources, IT resources, isn't it? Because what will HR do? HR has much to do with the billing, with the human resources part, like the database where it is the payroll. So a user will be able to access an Amazon RDS if the user has been given a permission. So I will create an HR group. I will assign the policies, and then I will simply add users to it. So whoever has been added as a HR user will have the restricted policies of access. Isn't it fantastic? That is also a service. It is called IAM services. Then you have the deployment and automation. Deployment is always a topic of discussion in DevOps. Automation is your ultimate goal. And for that, you can use AWS Elastic Beanstalk, AWS Cloud Formation. If the time permits, I will show you a demonstration of Cloud Formation. That is how automatically you can deploy a server or any resource, not only server. You can deploy a VPC. You can deploy Amazon S3 bucket. So you can deploy anything of your choice. And this is a very good utility. Like you have the Splunk, but Splunk is very costly. Okay. You can use the Amazon CloudWatch. It's a monitoring tool, monitoring service. So can I move ahead? Any question? Hello. So any question do you have? So far, whatever we have been able to discuss in a very, I am in a breeze, whatever we have discussed. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate. I'm going back to my topic. Okay, now we are going to discuss a bit, not too much, on cloud computing models. I will not go through all this because you will. I have a nice diagram. So you can see a small. These I have taken from the Amazon itself. They have defined what is IaaS, infrastructure as a service. This is a service model. Platform as a service, you have heard. This is a very popular one. PaaS, PaaS, platform as a service. And this is the ultimate, which is SaaS, software as a service. So Amazon is providing with all of these computing models. Okay. What are they? So you come to this diagram. This is a fantastic, I like it very much because many people don't understand infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, but they have been certified. They have got the certificates. But when they come to actually, if somebody counters them, asks them, what shall I go for? If there somebody is consulting them as a AWS architect, you have got the certificate. Can you help me whether I should go for infrastructure as a service or a platform as a service or software as a service? Or I will not go for any of these services from the cloud service provider. So let's say I am an organization and this blue things, blue parts are all the services that I am managing. I means the company, the organization is managing. So that is an ideal case when you have your data center and you are managing the entire suite of applications and architecture in the data centers. So you are managing the networking, storage, servers, virtualization, operating system, middleware, runtime, data, and applications. All of them is your responsibility. It is on premise. What about after a certain period of time, the company decides that no, I am spending a lot of money unnecessary because these four parts, networking, storage, servers, virtualization, I hardly get a good engineer. Every time my servers fail, every time there is a networking issue, every time there is a storage leak, and my virtualization is also not perfectly working. So and I'm spending a lot of money unnecessarily. I'm not getting that service, the worth of service. Okay. So what I decide that I will give this virtualization, servers, storage, and networking, this part of the infrastructure, I will give it to whom? I am hiring the services of an expert called Amazon Cloud. So what I'm doing, I am paying for these services, and the services cost much less, almost like 5 to 10 times less than what I'm spending over here. So this I have given over to my cloud service provider. What are the rest? OS, middleware, runtime, data, application. I still have a good team with sort of lesser money. I'm speaking a bit less, a little with a low voice. I am paying a bit of less money to them, but they are doing a fantastic job. So I will not hand it over to the cloud service provider because after all, I will still, though I'm paying less, but still I have to pay. Here I'm making a lot of services out of them, but paying them less. So let them continue. Let OS, middleware, runtime, data, applications all be maintained and managed by my company. Okay, so that is called infrastructure as a service. So this part is infrastructure as a service, which I have gone for using the AWS services. Now coming to the platform as a service. After a few months, when I have gone to infrastructure as a service, I have seen how best I have utilized the services of, or basically this is managed. I do not have a single issue. There was every day some issue here and there. But now after I have handed over the services, to Amazon AWS, I see there is not a single complaint. My servers or whatever the servers are working fine. There is no downtime. The storage are automatically, as per the usage, it is going up. It is elastic, going up, coming down. Networking, there was not a single complaint. Everything is well managed. So after 3-4 months after I have given this service, I thought, why not use them, the experts, to manage my OS, middleware, and runtime, because these guys are now demanding a lot of money because they are experts. This is not a very simple thing to manage. OS, you need an admin, a Linux administrator, a Unix administrator, a middleware expert, a runtime engineer, or runtime means whoever can manage uh, lots of compilers and runtime engine. So those things are very hard to get in the industry as well as in the job market, as well as they are costly. So why don't I try with the guys with the services of which was very satisfactory. So I have handed over the OS, middleware, runtime, all three, along with the virtualization, server, storage, networking, which was already there. So I have added 3 more layers, given it to them. So that is what I'm saying, that I have gone for a platform as a service with AWS. What I am keeping with me is data and application. I am still holding them with me because I consider data, I should not give it to them, because data is very sacrosanct and data is very sensitive. Data is very secretive. I should not hand over the data to a third party because there is a security issue. And of course, my application should not be available to a third party. Now, again, after a year, let's say after a year, I thought they are marvelous guys. They are fantastic champions. I am my service customer satisfactory survey. There is a SAT. Every quarter you have to have a SAT survey. How good, how satisfied your customer is. And now, with respect comparison to this and this, you said that the SAT has been quite satisfactory. Okay. So now that I have gained the confidence of this service vendor, I have decided that, okay, it is also very difficult for me to do all this data thing, to store this data, to manipulate this data, to handle this data, as well as this app, because day by day my applications are growing, because microservices are in there, and the data part is also growing in huge amount, in geometric progression. Okay, so better I will give it all. So starting from networking up to the level of applications, I have given all these layers to my good friend called AWS. That is called software as a service. So entire thing will be managed by them. Now you tell me, reading this and reading this, whatever little you have gained a knowledge, seeing this, your concept of IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS is now very, very clear, isn't it? Can I get a nod? Yes or no? I take it that it is a yes. So I will show you how to create a virtual server in AWS. It is very, very fast. Within minutes, I can create an EC2. I will show that. Then I will also, while I will be creating the EC2 instance as a hands-on, I will make you understand what is an Amazon machine image. It is basically the the containerization, the concept of Docker, the image. You are getting an application as an image. And what is that application? Can anybody tell me? For let's say you have bought a server, or you have bought a laptop. Laptop is just a dumb box. If there was no operating system like Windows or Mac or what, or Linux, will you be able to operate your laptop without them? Simple question. So when I'm creating a server like the EC2 instance, okay, Elastic Cloud Compute EC2 instance, I need to attach an AMI, that is an operating system. Okay, I'll do that. And can you have a server without some minimum storage? No. So I will have to have a server with an Elastic Block Store. That is a service. I will attach that service to my EC2 instance. Snapshots. That is also a service provided under the compute section of compute service of AWS. Snapshot, can anybody tell me? You must have heard snapshots. What is that actually? What are you going to do with that EBS snapshots? Why it is called EBS snapshots? So basically it's a storage, but it's a backup of the data that you have of backup of not only the data, the system. You can back up your system and that can be stored over the S3. So you can take a snapshot. Let's say at the end of the day, you have designed that every 1 hour, because your system is busy and there are lots of data transactions, you need to preserve those data. And why do you take a risk? That it can see, after all, these are in the data centers of your Amazon, AWS. So the data center can crash. The data center, there can be flood, there can be fire, there can be war. It can be in the war zone. Suddenly, some war has started, so the data center can go. So I will like to replicate my data from one data center to the other data center, such that anytime anything goes wrong, I can still have the snapshot of the old data that I had, right? That is a technology, that is a service that you will be able to, but this is all incremental backups and they are done automatically without coming to the front end. It is all happening in the back end, right? That is also called a service. And that is, as I told you, the storage service, one of the most popular services is simple storage service, which is S3. I will also demonstrate S3 today. Elastic load balancer, yes, like you would like to distribute the load between your instances, your servers, your EC2 instances. How do you do that? You place an elastic load balancer. Why elastic? Because anything provided from Amazon is they tag elastic because they are very proud to give that service. It is like elastic. When your requests come and there is a huge surge of that request, there will be the elastic load balancer will be able to expand. I mean, it can grow itself elastically. And whenever the requests come down, so it can shrink. That means when the elastic load balancer is running, your usage of that elastic load balancer is very important. You should not pay for something you are not using. So when the load is less and you are not using the entire capacity of the load balancer, you will not be billed. It will depend on how many how many transactions are happening over, or how many requests are coming in, and therefore it determines the usage. So that is elastic load balancer. It balances the load between the servers. That is a service. As I told you, DynamoDB, it is a no SQL database. Can you see? As I told you, it's not an SQL database. It is like a MongoDB. And it is coming up very fast, the usage, because sometimes a schema, which is a SQL schema, can be very constraining for real databases like big data. Big data cannot be a schema based SQL database. It has to be a no SQL data. Okay. And that is a very, so even if I am not very good in database, I will still be able to handle, manage. As a DevOps engineer, I can also act as a database administrator, because it becomes so simple for me with the help of this service to manage a NoSQL database or a relational database services, which is an SQL database. So the cloud comes up with all these services, and the Amazon VPC. You see, this is one region, region one. This is another region. Within the region, you have the subnets. What about the subnets? Subnets are basically for the, this is subnet is the network part, and availability zone is the the data center. So a data center should have a subnet, and that region should have a VPC. Okay, so there will be a networking between the VPC and the subnet, such that your region can communicate with your data centers or your subnets, and there can be communication between the subnets. So this is one data center, this is another data center. Between the data center, there can be a replication, there can be some sort of a RAID mechanism, redundancy, availability. Okay, so let's say you have kept one database in this availability zone and another database in this availability zone, which is a replica of that database. So if something goes down over this database will pick up. So how will that happen? It will happen over a network. As well as, can you see that you can communicate in inter-region between two regions like Ohio and Mumbai can communicate. All these instances over the data centers, like EC2 instances, Amazon EC2, over the data centers or the availability zones can communicate. Say Ohio, once a data center can, the server remaining in this will communicate over the cross connection between the regions, with a Mumbai server. So these two servers can talk. How? Because there is a connection, there is a networking between the VPCs. So inter VPC communication, NAT communication, NAT. I will not go into much of this. This is, if you have some application development background, you will be understanding this particular thing. But what is the time? I still have some another 50 minutes. Okay, okay. So, but let me understand whether are you interested to understand this elastic beanstalk, because it may go beyond your. Sometimes, if I am allowed to say that it can go beyond your grasp. So I will not waste my time. What do you say? Basically, I will say in a very short way. Hello?
Yeah, you can explain it. I mean, briefly, maybe.
Briefly. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. So let us see that there is a Java web application. Okay. With all its configuration, environment configuration. This is an Elastic Beanstalk. This is a service provided by AWS. So what you do, you upload that. So let's say you are not that good. That is the situation where your company is giving over everything as your platform as a service or your this thing. So your company has taken the service of Elastic Beanstalk because the company have seen that you were not doing very good in quick deployments. Basically, this is deployments. How fast you can deploy, how scalable your deployment is, how robust your deployment is. And in that case, your team that you are paying high salaries were not being able to be doing as good as expected. So what they did, they understood that I have a service from AWS called Elastic Beanstalk. I need to, or the company needs to, whatever applications need to be deployed will be just uploaded over onto the Elastic Beanstalk, that service. Okay. And the rest will be taken over by Elastic Beanstalk. You do not have to do anything else. This is a big nightmare that has been taken out. A big headache has been taken out from the application developers or from the deployment team or for the production team. Okay. So what do? They will, or you can do is the Java application, which is also, it is like a container. Within that container, you have that image of Java application. And what you do, it is very simple to deploy a container. You deploy it over onto the Elastic Beanstalk, that service that you have taken. And now that service will deploy it to your server. Maybe this server is somewhere in India. There can be hundreds of servers scattered all over the world. So you just you configure the Elastic Beanstalk to distribute that application, that Java application over onto all the servers. And then you also, Elastic Beanstalk will also communicate with the load balancer as well as with the auto scaling services. So all this together, they form an orchestra, a nice orchestration of your application. That means whenever there is a huge load, the load or the request will come and hit the Elastic load balance. This will be all decided by Elastic Beanstalk. If there was no need to get onto the Elastic load balancer, no need. Don't go in. Distribute directly to the particular server, whichever server is less loaded. If suppose within the architecture, within the cluster of servers that you have, it is not during the Christmas, as I told you, during the peak season, there is a lot of load on your application access. There are millions and millions of users hitting your application. What you do? You just don't have to do anything. You have already taken the service of Elastic Beanstalk. Beanstalk will decide to use the Elastic load balancer, but before that, it will auto scale the servers. Auto scale, either it can go for a vertical upscaling or a horizontal. It depends on how you have configured the auto scaling. Okay. So that is a fantastic, a game changer, you can say. It's a game changer. Your more or less 95% of your load has been taken out. And what you concentrate on? You concentrate on expanding your business over to other horizons. See, our motto is to enable our business, that is the company, to grow business wise. If I am almost 100% involved into the technology aspect, and that technology is also not working as per your wish, then what is the use? If I may ask you to just mute, there is a bit of noise. Hello. Can I request you to please mute? Hello. Can you help, please?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I have done.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you. So this is a game changer in simple words. Upload and deploy web applications in a simplified, fast way. Focus on writing the code. As a developer, you will be concentrating on writing the best of the best codes. You should not be worrying about how to deploy, how to provision, how to do this and that. No, leave it on Elastic Beanstalk. This guy is an expert. Okay, more or less, you can see all these slides are available in our website. Okay, so you can go there and you can revise them, whatever we have done. So you have the recording as well as you have the slides. So the best combination, best of both worlds. Cloud formation. If there is a bit of time, I will also demonstrate on the cloud formation. This is an automation, deployment automation. So you see, AWS Cloud Formation lets you model, provision, and manage AWS and third-party resources by treating infrastructure as a code. Now, don't worry about infrastructure as a code. You are basically writing a template and you are deploying that template. That's all. And you are getting this template from AWS. Your life, you have to just fill in, like you have gone to a hospital. Okay, and the hospital, you want to get admitted, and you have a health card. So what the hospital administration will do is they will give you a form. The form is a template. They will give a particular template or a form, basically a electronic form or a paper form. You will fill it up, isn't it? You go to a hospital, you fill it up that this is the doctor, this is my ailment, this is the medicines that I am using, this is my previous record or whatever, and this is the medical health card details. You submit it to in the reception or in the counter, and they will process your form, and your admission is now enabled. So you get admitted to the hospital because the approval of that health card or that company who has provided you with that health card, they have approved your admission. Similarly, here AWS is giving me a template. I am just filling up few information of what I need, whether I need to create a bucket, Amazon S3 bucket, or I would like to create one EC2 instance, which is a server, or I would like to create an VPC or a subnet or whatever, or IAM user, IAM identity and access management user, or what not. I just have to simply fill up a form and put it to into this service. That's all. I will get an output of whatever I wanted to have. If possible, if there is a time permission, I will show you. And similarly, this is an AWS IAM identity and access management, which is to create a user. As I told you, you can create a group, assign all the policies. You see, authorization to perform an action depends on a policy. So you will be authorized whenever you enter a system. where you are entering your office. Your office is very secured. Office cannot allow anyone to enter and to be accessed unless you have an authorization and an authentication. So all this authorization and authentication will be happening because you have identified who are you, what are the resources you can access, which are the resources you can access. So you have been given the permissions with IAM policies, and what are the resources that you are going to access. So maybe you are allowed to access the S3 bucket, but the permission says that you can only read, you cannot write onto that bucket. You as a IAM user have an authentication and authorization to only use a bucket, but that bucket can only be read. You have an access permission. That is called an access control, ACL, access control list. You will have a list of all the access controls that you have. These are so many things that you have to learn with us in a proper manner. How do you assign a policy? How do you create a policy? If time permits, I will also show you, but not through an IAM user. I will show you how to create an S3 bucket with certain policies. You can code your policy. Okay. Now I have covered all my slides, the theory part. So you can heave a sigh of relief that, oh, at least Devashish is so kind enough to complete this.
No, not at all. This is really interesting, and every day we can learn something new from you. Thank you, Mr. Devashish.
Yeah, thank you. So what I do, would you like to say somebody wants to say something on whatever we have learned, or Mr. Menon?
Hello.
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 Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Gandham. I think he has some internet issue. Anyone have any other question?
So before we go into hands-on, can anybody have any question? I will quickly try to go into the hands-on. If not, then I will not waste any further time. Let me go because there is time issue. So you just let me know whether you are being able to see the screen.
Yes.
Everyone? Just one
Yeah.
yes. Yes, that will do. That will do. Very good. I am trying to go into my AWS management console, which is called, which you have seen that in the first slides, you have seen that that is the administrative and management console. Services. So under that, you have the AWS management console. So I will sign in. Okay. I am signing into my account as an IAM user. This is my account. And therefore, I am as signing in as an IAM user. Okay. And this is my password. I will not show you. So here I am. These are the various recently used services that I have used recently. Okay. All these services. But right now I am going to see I am in the Singapore region because I'm in Kolkata. I would like to create my servers under the Singapore region. So this is a region. So then you will ask me, what about the availability zone? Yes, definitely. There will be availability zone. Because Singapore is a small country, do you think it will have same number of availability zones like in Ohio? Ohio is a big district, bigger than Singapore. Ohio has 6. So will it be 6 or more than 6 or less than 6 in Singapore? It is always less than 6. It is actually 3. There are 3 data centers subnets. So Singapore will have a VPC of its own, virtual private cloud, because any region will have at least one default VPC and the rest is the default subnets. Fine. I will try to create one EC2 instance, which is my server. I have come to my EC2 dashboard, and in that dashboard, I see that there are no instances which are running. Instance means a server. And how fast I can create my server. Okay, let me go to this instance. There are no instances created. Okay, I will quickly go. Okay, you are asking that this is the Asia Pacific Singapore region. Okay, and how many zones or availability zones or subnets? You have this subnet. So Singapore is basically called, okay, you see, I have a list of all the availabilities, all the regions that is enabled for me. And there are 13 regions which are not enabled for this account because my administrator has disallowed me. That's okay. That is good. I should not be able to, I'm not allowed to work in these regions. That's okay. I am working on Singapore. So what is the ID? Now everything on AWS is based on the ID. Any resource on AWS is on ID. So you have AP Southeast 1. AP Southeast 1 will indicate Singapore. So that is the ID, region ID. And so you see the subnets are, the availability zones are AP Southeast 1A, 1B, 1C. Correct? Having understood that, let me go and quickly create one instance. Right now, I have no instances. That means I have no servers running in my account under the region Singapore. Let me create an instance. So I click on the launch instances. I will quickly go for my server name. Let's say DevOps Internship. My system is a bit slow, so forgive me. And now I am selecting out of this most popular service operating systems as Amazon Machine Image, AMI. I am selecting one Linux, Ubuntu Linux. Why? Because I cannot create a server without an operating system. Okay, I do that. So I have selected something in the free tier. Free tier means we will not go into that. I'm using a very a server for the uses of which I will not be charged. But my account is almost 3 years old now. So whenever I use any resource, whether the free tier is not eligible, because the free tier is only eligible for first 1 year after you have created your account. I have already passed that. So anyway, Mr. Menon is going to pay for me. Now, so I'm trying to save some amount of money for Mr. Menon, because then that's why I'm selecting a very small size of a server. I'm selecting T2 micro. Okay. Though it is saying it is free tier eligible, but it's eligible. It is not eligible for me. It is my account is too old to be anyway. But I am specifying the instance type, the size of the server. T2 micro. I can go for any one. There are lots of lists. T2 medium, T2 large, T2 X large, extra large. XX large. So, but I will go with the T2 micro. Okay. And the key pair. Key pair is like a fingerprint. I can go a long way discussing about that part, but let me use a key pair that I have already created. Key pair is nothing but to allow access, to authorize a person and getting access to my server. I need to be authorized. And for authorization and authentication, I need a fingerprint. It is, you can say it is a substitute of password. Password is no longer secured, but a fingerprint is much more secure because you cannot have your fingerprint replicated or duplicate. So to enter this, I need a key pair. And then I am using the default network settings. I am not going to edit anything. So my VPC by default, this is the default VPC ID. And I do not have any preference of the subnet. So can anybody tell me how many subnets do I need to create my server? Just a wild guess. I'm creating one server, one EC2 instance. So do I need more than one availability zone? You are creating a server. Think of that. You have 3 data centers in one location, in another location. Okay. So I am creating a server. So naturally, I cannot create the same server in 2 places. Can I be present in 2 places at the same time? If I cannot, then I cannot create a server in 2. So I have no preference. Let it be assigned by AWS by default. So in any availability zone, I have no preference. And see, a server is an internet device, right? Because you are creating it over the internet. So will it not get a IP address? Will it not be having an IP address? Without an IP address, it is like you do not exist if you do not have a name. If I can draw an example like that. Similarly, a device on a network or an internet cannot exist without a IP address. So there is no identification. To identify that, you have to have an IP address. What is IP address and what is the technology behind an IP address? All these things will be discussed in my sessions. So I am allowing to automatically assign my public IP. If I have to publicly access it from outside. So I need to have a public IP address generated. There is a private IP address as well when I create the machine. Okay, the private IP address is not going to change. It is a fixed one, but the public IP address will go and change every time you shut down and start up. So for this, I will be assigned automatically a public IP address. Security group. Now, this is another thing. Like you are building a house. Your house is not protected unless you surround it with some sort of a wall. It can be a firewall. In security terms, that is a firewall. It is set of rules. So you are going to an office. Okay. Now the office can be IBM office. The office can be Accenture office, whatever office. So you have been employed with IBM. So will you not go to an IBM office instead of going to an Accenture office? Yes, you will go to IBM office. So that is one sort of a rule. You take your car to only the IBM office, not to an Accenture office, because you are an IBM employee. So similarly, here think of that terms that your server is secured with a security wall, and that wall is called the firewall and the security group. You are doing a security group. I will not create it. I will rather select it because I don't want to waste time on creating this. I will use this one. So there is a set of inbound rules and outbound rules. The rules which will allow you to get inside your server, and there are rules to get you out of the server. And thereafter, you have to have the hard disk. Now, this is not an ordinary hard disk. It is GP3. What is GP3? It is a general purpose SSD drive. And that is called the volume, the root volume, or it is called the EBS. What is that EBS? We have learned, just now we have learned, elastic block storage. It is an SSD or a magnetic storage. Okay, so I have added 8 GB of my storage into my server. That's enough for my demonstration purpose. So you can have a summary, you can review the summary. You are creating one instance. You can as well create 10 instances, 10 servers. You can. But right now I'm creating one server. It is of T2 micro. It is having a firewall called Launch Wizard 3. It is having a EBS of 8 GB. Okay, and that is fine. I will say launch instance. So it is going to create now. Amazing. It not even took 30 seconds, not even half a minute. Less than half a minute, it created one server. Can you believe? That is the magic. You have created a full-fledged server with OS also installed. Amazing. Let's go and check whether actually it has been created. Yes, it has been created. And what is the name of the server? You have given it a name, DevOps Internship. And any server, any resource that you create on the cloud will have a resource ID. This is the instance ID. It is in the running state. It is of T2 micro size. Where did it create? It created in AP Southeast 1A. I have not decided. Amazon has decided. AWS has decided where it should be. It will check how much crowded that availability zone is. If it is too much crowded, then it will go for the next data center. But it found AP Southeast 1A to be okay. So you can create a server there. Because remember, you are not only the person who is working in Singapore region in this availability, in this data center. There are millions of users, millions of consumers working on cloud. This is the public IPv4 DNS, domain name services. And this is the public IP address. And this is the security group, Launch Wizard 3. And this is the fingerprint or the key pair. DevOps is the name of that key pair. That is an encrypted sort of a file, you can say. So with this, now my question is, my server is running. Can I access it from outside? Yes, why not? I will copy see, there are two IP addresses. One is the private and the other one is public. Okay, if I shut it down, if I shut the server down, stop it, shut it down, and then restart it, will the IP address remain the same? Public IP address. My basic question to you. Any guess? Will it remain the same IP address? No. For each shutdown and startup, the IP address will change for the security reasons. Anyway, I will copy this IP address and I will go to I'm using Windows. I will go to my Putty. Putty is a software which will help, is a connectivity software which will help me to connect to my server from outside. Outside means I'm in Kolkata. I'm using a laptop having Windows. But I have created a server in Singapore, and now I want to work on that server. So do I not need to connect to it? Yes, I need to connect to it. I have already created a session sort of configuration, and I have named it as DevOps Internship. I will load that configuration. I will then change the IP address. This is the IP address 52.77.247.92. It is the SSH port. You know, a port. A port is where a port is you know a server will have ports, and there will be services which are listening onto that port. One of the service is called SSH, Secure Shell Services. With this, you are going to connect to your remote server or your server. And this SSH comes from the Open SSH Connectivity Protocol suite. Anyway, so I have also configured my SSH connection authorization key, and the credentials is, do you see what is the name of your key pair? DevOps. I have that file downloaded as the Putty private key file. Anyway, those things we will learn. So I will go to the session, back to the session. I will load it. Oh, did it change? I did not save it. So let me save this and let me open this. Oh, yes. So see, from Kolkata, using a laptop having Windows, I was able to connect to, can you see this? So you have gone into Ubuntu Linux. Why? Because you have attached to your server an AMI called Ubuntu, isn't it? So uname minus A. You see that your server, your operating system is Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a Linux, and it is a Linux. So did I go there? But how would you verify? Okay, 172.31.1966 is the internal or the private IP address. So let me check. Where is that? 172.31.1966. 172.31.1966. So I'm sure that I have connected to my Linux machine, which is working on AWS. And the Linux or the Linux machine is the AMI is the Ubuntu 24.04 LTS long-term support. This is the IP, the host name of the host that you have connected. It is a virtual machine over the cloud. Okay, so everything done. Are you happy that you have created one EC2 instance in less than half a minute? You can't imagine that. We used to install servers. We had the HP engineers, so they will take days to provision one server, and they will take days to install an operating system, HP UX. It was nightmare. But here, within half a minute, you were able to create one server. Let me go and use another service if I have some time. So let me go and go for the S3 service. So S3 is that storage service. I will see there is no buckets. There is no S3 bucket. Store and retrieve any amount of data from anywhere. So I will quickly create the bucket. And I have a guideline. I will follow that guideline. So it will, because I'm in a hurry, I have to complete. So I will create by this name. I'm creating a bucket. Bucket is nothing but a place where I can store my files, my folder, my images, and all those stuff. Okay, so let me create a bucket quickly. I will have this name. See, a name of a bucket has to be unique all over the world of AWS. You cannot have two buckets of the same name anywhere in any of the regions. So it's a global object. Right now, I'm not changing anything of this thing. I will just simply go. I can enable the versioning because bucket is by default it is disabled, but the bucket versioning I have enabled. Anyway, that is besides the point. I will go and create the bucket quickly. How simple it is. I'm doing it graphically. So my bucket has been created. Okay. This is the name of the bucket. S3 bucket. Successfully created bucket, this one. I will click on it. I will create a folder because it's a bucket. Think it's a bucket. An S3 bucket, a simple storage. It is a storage. And I'm creating a folder called images. Okay. And I will say create folder. So simple. So what did it do? It created a folder called images under the bucket called DevOps Internship website host. Now I will go to the folder. I will upload, either you can click on here or there. I will upload a file, an image file. Let me upload a file. So I will add file. This is somewhere, some folder in locally. I have some images. Okay. I will upload this hello world image. Just an image, JPEG image. It's a hello world.jpg an image file. And I will come down. Nothing else. I will upload. So it is uploading the file from my local hard disk, from my local system into the cloud S3. I will say close. So one file has been hello world.jpg has been uploaded into the S3 bucket in a particular folder. I will come back to my root. Okay. I will upload few files under the root folder. I will say add files. I will add two HTML files. One is index and the other is error.html. These are HTML files. HTML files. I do not know whether you know HTMLs, but these are like some objects which are going to be. HTML is hypertext markup language. Now this it will be rendered as simple as that. So I'm copying this file, I'm transferring these two files and uploading them into my root folder of my bucket. So the total is 341 bytes. So it is very less. Okay. Three 41 bytes, two files uploaded. I will go back. Okay. And I will now see, I have two files. I have two files, error.html, index.html, and one folder. And under that folder, I have a hello world.jpg. With that, I will do now one thing. I will go to properties. I will come down very end, and I will say I will like to use this S3 bucket as a static web site hosting. I will create that. I will use that S3 bucket as my website. So I will edit that and I will enable the website. I will have my index document as index.html, that is the landing page. And if there is any error, it will be error.html, the two files that I have uploaded. Okay, I will save the changes. So what happened is if I go over here, I see a static website hosting and I have a bucket website endpoint. So this is the endpoint. Let me click on this. But it is showing me 403 forbidden. It is trying to, it has gone to that website. This is the ARN. Okay. But it could not. It is saying that access denied. So that means there is some permission issue, isn't it? Do you understand? We cannot access a resource from some cloud architecture, from infrastructure, unless and until we are properly authorized and authenticated. So what we do, I will go back to this and I will come back to permissions. Because I know that I have to be I have to get some valid permissions. So my right now there is a public access which is blocked because I'm a public. I'm trying to access this AWS S3 bucket from outside. So I have to enable this. I will edit and I will unblock all the public accesses. These are the public accesses. I will not go into the details. I will save the changes. I will say confirm. Okay, confirm. So my public access which was blocked was taken off. So it is now enabled. So I can publicly access my bucket. Okay. And the policy. Yes, I have to add one policy because otherwise only allowing the public access will not do. I have to authorize it. To authorize, I have to do something. I will say edit. And here I will add a new statement. So a statement has been added with a statement SID as statement 1, but something is missing. So I will fill it up. I have that action which is missing. So what I will do, I will copy this to save your time. I will copy this and put it under the action. Okay. I have got that action. Principle. Now principle, there is nothing inside the principle. So I will say I will be allowing all the access. So all the access means the star. Star is your a pattern which is saying all. You are basically accessing principally all the resources. And the effect is to allow access to all the resources. And what is the action? You are trying to get an access to the S3 bucket with an API call called get object. Get object is like a REST API call. So basically you are saying that I want to get at least the read permission of that object, get object. But at the same time, I have to specify the resource. I know it is quite difficult for you to understand if you are not going to learn with us. So I am saying what is the particular resource? I can put it towards the end. Okay, I will put it over here I will take out the comma. I will give a comma over here. So what I'm saying that, okay, I will get the object, but from where? From the resource, this particular resource, which is the Amazon resource name, AWS. S3 is the type of the resource, and the name of the resource is DevOps Internship website host, isn't it? Is the name of the bucket. And under the bucket, let me be allowed to access all the folders and files and whatever. So with this, I have done my job. I will say save changes. So what I have done, successfully edited the bucket policy. Okay. And so I'm very happy that there is no error. Everything is fine, working fine. I have said my statement name is statement 1. Effect is to allow me to access principally everything. What particular action for this particular bucket policy? I would like to get it. So there should be an API call to this bucket. What is the API call? Get object. And what is the resource? This is the resource, the bucket, along with all its objects. And finally, I am done. I am done. How will I prove that I am done? I will go to my properties, go towards the end where you have the URL. So you click on that URL. Do you see what happened? This was not allowing me, forbidden. Now this time it is exactly the particular HTML. I just change one thing. See, this is the page that you wanted. Welcome to DevOps Internship S3 hosted website. This website is hosted in AWS S3. Can you see the font change? And this is the picture, the image. Anyway, I will do some mistake. Let's say I have given the wrong bucket name. Let's say hosts, website hosts. And I press enter. It is not found. See, earlier it was forbidden. This is 403. Now it is not found. 404. No such bucket because you have given a wrong bucket name. Okay, I am giving the correct bucket name, but at the same time, I'm giving an endpoint which is not correct. Let's say I'm giving an endpoint called index dot or index1.html. Will it find? But what did it find? It executed. It was not 404. It was, oops, there's an error. That is also, that was because of that HTML file, which is error.html. So are you happy? I am done with my demonstration. I know you're not responding because it is difficult. It is very, I have done it everything over in a breeze, in a haste. It's not very simple. But do you understand? This is if I have given the correct name of that index page, it will be correct. Then I will say I am getting this correctly. So, Mr. Menon, this is the end of the session today. I will come back here. I know there is a lot of people who have dropped out. That is very natural. I don't blame anyone. It is also a bit late night in India, but at the same time, it is not that simple. That's why I urge people to come learn with us. You will get a lot of benefits. Thank you. So, Mr. Menon, uh, I have ended my session. You can take over or we can end the session. Any question from your end? Priyam, it is true. You have to go through this recording more than one time, or maybe at least one time. Yes. Who is that? Kondinya. Kondinya, you are very correct. When there is a mistake in the URL, it should navigate to error HTML. Why it is navigating to error 404? I have explained, I think. Because there is a basically difference between 404, 403, and if you are being able to hit that particular HTML because you have done that error.html. So it knows how to go there. We'll do that. Did I answer your question? Gondania, yeah. Yes, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. You will have Isido mentioned we will have job support for a couple of months when we'll get a job. In matter of fact, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a consultancy and as well as the training institute. So once our student got job through our consultancy or from the market, then they after placing on the job, they again come back to us and we provide 1:1 trainer as a support, because getting a job is one thing, and sustaining a job is a little bit more complex stuff. So
Yeah, true. Very true.
so guys, I think we are very end of the today's session. Just I would like to give a shout out that yesterday, last Friday, our DevOps morning batch is started. The introduction class was started, and the main course is going to start from this Monday. Our evening DevOps batch is going to going to start in October 3rd week, and our cybersecurity DevSecOps class is going to start in October 1st week. So if you are interested to set your career on DevOps or cybersecurity, feel free to ping us. We do still have one or two seat available in our morning batch. So if you are interested, just knock or just ping a chat in the group.
Somebody called Kafu Isido. There was a question with Canada time zone. I am not sure. Is it a half a question?
So in our morning DevOps batch, Canadian time. So which time zone you are talking about? Canada have like a many timelines. So I'm
No,
giving a
I was just asking in general that if we get a job, say Canada time zone, are we able to get help from India, which will be night time in India, to support us in Canada when it's morning time?
are you talking about job support?
Yes, time zone job support.
Yes, we do have. But for that we do have a separate wing, and
Okay.
I because this Mr. here, Mr. Devashish, is actually maintaining our and managing our whole training department, including DevOps, cybersecurity, AI, and data analytics. Me and normally managing our solution and consultancy part, and for support part we do have another wing. So if you're interested, ping Mr. Devashish or me, and we'll share their link and chat and number, so you can communicate them directly.
Okay.
Guys, any more question? So next weekend we will have a very other interesting topic.